unconscious bias and its impact in the workplace. Welcome back to What's in It for Me. I'm your host, Jason. Today, we're diving deep into the concept of unconscious bias, a crucial topic in today's diverse workplace. We'll explore how these hidden biases manifest their impact, and importantly, how we can identify and mitigate them using tools like the Harvard Implicit Association Test and cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. Identifying and mitigating unconscious bias. So how do we begin to identify and mitigate our own unconscious biases? The first step is awareness. Understanding that we all have these biases is crucial. They're not a reflection of our character, but a product of our environment and experiences. But what about those who don't believe in unconscious bias? Addressing those skeptical about unconscious bias requires acknowledging their perspective while presenting the concept as a well-established psychological phenomenon. Unconscious bias isn't about assigning blame or suggesting that individuals are intentionally prejudiced. Rather, it's about understanding that our social environments, upbringing, and media exposure shape our perceptions and attitudes, often without our conscious awareness. These biases are not reflections of our character, but are byproducts of the brain's natural tendency to categorize information and create shortcuts to process the vast amount of stimuli we encounter daily. The concept of unconscious bias is backed by extensive research in psychology and neuroscience, demonstrating its influence on behavior and decision-making. While it may be uncomfortable to acknowledge these hidden biases, doing so is a crucial step in personal growth and creating fairer, more equitable environments. It's not about guilt, but about awareness and the opportunity for positive change. Engaging with this concept doesn't undermine one's belief in fairness and equality. Instead, it reinforces a commitment to these ideals by bringing to light the subtle ways in which we may inadvertently fall short of them. Role of the Harvard Implicit Association Test. One of the most effective tools for uncovering our hidden biases is the Harvard Implicit Association Test, or IAT. This test measures the strength of associations between concepts and evaluations or stereotypes. It reveals preferences we might not be consciously aware of. For instance, you might discover a bias you hold towards a certain gender or race in the context of a job role. Cognitive awareness of bias. Once we're aware of these biases, cognitive strategies come into play. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, offers tools that can be applied here. CBT is generally used to challenge and change unhelpful thoughts and behaviors, improve emotional regulation, and develop personal coping strategies. We can adapt these techniques to address our biases. Applying cognitive behavioral therapy techniques to bias. For example, when you catch yourself having a biased thought, challenge it. Ask yourself, why do I think this way? And in my thought, based on facts or assumptions, this is similar to the CBT technique of cognitive restructuring, where you identify and challenge irrational beliefs and replace them with more rational thoughts. Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. In Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman discusses how our brain operates on two systems, the fast intuitive and emotional system, and the slow, deliberate, and logical system. Unconscious biases come from that fast system. Being aware of this can help us slow down our decision-making processes, engage our logical thinking, and be more deliberate in our judgments and actions. Practical steps to mitigate bias. Another practical step is to actively seek out and engage with people and experiences that challenge your biases. This could be as simple as reading books or watching films that present different perspectives, or having conversations with colleagues from diverse backgrounds. The role of continuous learning. Continued education is key. Participate in diversity and inclusion training sessions. These can provide valuable insights into how biases form and how they can be overcome. Blind Spot by Mazarin Banaji and Anthony Greenwald. In Blind Spot, Mazarin Banaji and Anthony Greenwald remind us that the mind is a difference-seeking machine. This natural tendency of our brains means that we must be vigilant in our efforts to remain unbiased. As we conclude, I encourage you to take proactive steps, take the implicit association test, apply cognitive behavioral techniques, and engage in continuous learning and self-reflection. By doing so, you not only become a better ally in your workplace, but you also contribute to a more equitable and inclusive society. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of What's in It for Me, where we explored the intricate world of unconscious bias and its impact in our professional lives. I'm Jason, And I hope this episode has inspired you to reflect and act on your biases. Stay tuned for our next episode as we continue to explore the vital aspects of diversity in our workplaces. Until then, let's strive for awareness, understanding, and action.